Picture a state bigger than Germany, yet home to fewer people than San Jose, California. Hard to believe? That's Montana. Endless mountains, sweeping plains, and some of the most stunning scenery in America. But hardly anyone around to see it. So what keeps the population so low? Brutal winters? Remote living? Or something rooted deeper in the state's past? The real question: could you handle life where the elk outnumber the neighbors and the nearest hospital might be hours away? Let's dive in. Reason number 8. Historical settlement patterns that shaped Montana's empty landscape. To understand why Montana feels so empty today, you have to rewind to the 1800s. Unlike the dense cities of the East Coast, Montana's settlement was driven by wide-open land grants, mining booms, and the Homestead Act of 1862. Families could claim 160 acres if they worked the land, which spread settlers across massive plots instead of clustering them in urban hubs. That early development created isolated ranches, mining camps, and frontier towns, a pattern that still defines the state 150 years later. Even today, Billings is the only city with more than 100,000 people, while the capital, Helena, has barely 33,000. Towns in eastern Montana, like Jordan or Bridger, may have fewer than 500 residents, basically the size of a weekend Airbnb guest list. Many of these towns never grew, and some even shrank. After the Dust Bowl, farming mechanization, and railroad decline, dozens of once thriving communities became ghost towns, their storefronts collapsing while population signs froze at double digits. Railroads once connected Montana's mining and cattle hubs to the nation, but as highways and air travel took over, these small towns were left behind. Other states built dense cities around factories, ports, and universities. Montana, by contrast, inherited a legacy of distance, silence, and space. Beautiful, yes, but also sparse, scattered, and difficult to sustain. Reason number 7. Rugged terrain and harsh geography. Montana's natural beauty is undeniable. Soaring Rocky Mountains, endless prairies, and alpine lakes that look straight out of a postcard. But that same rugged geography is also one of the biggest reasons many people avoid living here. Life in Montana means dealing with grizzly bears, avalanches, flash blizzards, and wildfires. Not exactly everyone's idea of comfort. With over 100 named mountain ranges, including the Beartooth and Bitterroot Mountains, much of the state is steep, rocky, and difficult to develop. More than 40% of Montana is public land, perfect for hiking and camping, but unavailable for housing or major infrastructure. Farming isn't easy either. Agriculture generates about $5 billion annually, but much of eastern Montana is semi-arid, drought-prone, and wind-battered. Without irrigation and expensive equipment, turning a profit is nearly impossible. Then there's transportation. Montana has 70,000 miles of rural roads, more per capita than any other state, but only one full east-west interstate, I-90. Venture off the corridor, and you're relying on gravel roads that can be impassable during snowstorms or spring thaws. Some small towns are cut off for days at a time. And for city comforts, don't count on it. Many Montana towns are 80 miles from the nearest Walmart, with limited shopping, no Uber, and few fast food options. For outdoor lovers, this is paradise. For most people, though, Montana's harsh terrain and isolation make it a tough place to call home. Reason number 6. Montana's brutal winters drive people away. Montana's winters aren't just cold, they're some of the harshest in the United States. In eastern towns like Glasgow and Havre, temperatures regularly plunge to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit, rivaling Siberia and even parts of Antarctica. And it's not a rare event. It happens every year. Snowfall is another challenge. Red Lodge averages nearly 200 inches annually. That's over 16 feet. Even larger cities like Bozeman and Missoula see 80 to 100 inches per winter. Add in relentless blizzards and you can literally lose your car in your own driveway during a whiteout. The cold isn't the only extreme. Montana ranks among the windiest states in America, with gusts topping 70 miles per hour in spots like Livingston. Walking your dog can feel more like a parachute test. All of this makes daily life expensive and difficult. Heating costs soar, with Montana households spending $2,500 to $3,000 each winter just to stay warm. Roads become icy obstacle courses, and power outages are common. Sure, the photos of Montana's snowy landscapes look magical, but living here takes grit, snow tires, and serious winter survival skills. It's no wonder so many say, "Great place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there." Reason number 5. Sparse infrastructure and limited services. Living in Montana can feel like stepping back in time. Charming, but disconnected. With over 147,000 square miles of land and just 1.1 million residents, the state's infrastructure struggles to keep up. Essential services like hospitals, schools, grocery stores, and high-speed internet are spread thin, and for many residents, the nearest clinic or supermarket can be a 1 to 2 hour drive. Healthcare access is a serious challenge. Montana has only about 198 doctors per 100,000 residents, far below the national average of 277. That means long wait times, limited specialists, and dangerous delays in emergencies. For rural communities, reaching an ER often means hours on icy roads, where minutes can make the difference. Education isn't much better. While Montana boasts universities like Montana State and the University of Montana, many small towns struggle to keep K-12 schools open. Teacher shortages have even forced some districts to adopt 4-day school weeks, leaving parents scrambling. Then there's internet access, a deal breaker for many. Nearly 25% of Montana households lack reliable broadband, especially in remote plains and mountain towns. For remote workers, students, or businesses, that's a major barrier. Even basics like paved roads, public transit, and water systems are limited or outdated. For many newcomers, the lack of modern infrastructure turns Montana's rustic beauty into a daily frustration. Reason number 4. Montana's geographic isolation makes daily life difficult. Montana is massive, 147,000 square miles, making it the 4th largest state in the U.S. Yet, only about 1.1 million people call it home. That's fewer residents than Dallas, Texas, spread out over a landmass bigger than Germany. With a population density of just 7.6 people per square mile, Montana has more elk and deer than neighbors. This isolation comes with serious downsides. In towns like Glasgow, dubbed the most isolated community in the lower 48 by National Geographic, the nearest city of 75,000 plus people is a 4.5-hour drive away. Imagine living in Los Angeles but needing to drive to Las Vegas just to shop at Costco. Forget about public transportation. No subways, no reliable bus systems. Your car is your lifeline. And if it breaks down on a rural highway in the middle of winter, you could be stranded for hours. Cell service? Spotty at best in mountain valleys and back roads. Even air travel is a challenge. Montana has only 7 commercial airports, and flights aren't cheap. A round trip from Bozeman to New York can run $600 plus, often with multiple layovers. While Montana's wide-open spaces offer peace and solitude, the trade-off is limited access, high travel costs, and isolation from basic services. For many, that level of remoteness is simply unsustainable. Reason number 3. High cost of living in Montana. Think Montana is a cheap, rustic escape? Think again. The cost of living in Montana, especially in hot spots like Bozeman, Missoula, and Whitefish, is shockingly high. In 2025, the median home price in Bozeman sits around $750,000, higher than Phoenix and approaching Denver levels. That's in a city with barely 56,000 people. What's driving the surge? A flood of out-of-state buyers. Since remote work took off, thousands of newcomers from California, Washington, and Texas rushed to Montana for its lifestyle and mountain views. The Montana housing market simply couldn't keep up. In Bozeman alone, home prices jumped over 100% in a decade. Renters aren't spared either. In Missoula, a one-bedroom apartment averages $1,600 per month, nearly double what it cost 10 years ago. Compare that to Montana's average salary of $54,000, and housing eats up a disproportionate share of income. But housing isn't the only issue. Groceries run about 10% above the U.S. average, thanks to long supply chains and limited distribution. Add in higher prices for gas, utilities, and even internet, and daily life becomes more expensive than many expect for a rural state. The result, while Montana may look like an affordable escape, locals are being priced out, and newcomers are discovering the real cost of living in Big Sky country. Reason number 2. Young people are leaving Montana and not coming back. Montana isn't just losing residents to high housing costs. It's facing a youth outmigration crisis. According to the Montana Department of Labor and Industry, nearly 60% of young adults leave within 5 years of graduating high school, and most never return. For a state with just over 1.1 million residents, that loss is reshaping its future. So why are young people leaving Montana? 3 main reasons stand out: limited job opportunities, high housing prices, and a lack of social life and entertainment. If you're 24 with a degree in tech, media, or business, it's hard to imagine building a career in towns like Hoover or Miles City. Even in Bozeman, with its coffee shops and art scene, rent for a 1-bedroom now averages $1,800 a month, while many salaries barely hit $42,000. This steady outflow is fueling a bigger problem: Montana's aging population. The median age is now 40.1 years, above the U.S. average, and rural counties are even older, some topping 50. That means fewer young workers, shrinking school enrollments, and a healthcare system under pressure from a growing senior population. Until Montana creates better jobs, affordable housing, and vibrant communities, the brain drain will continue, leaving the state with breathtaking landscapes, but fewer people to call it home. Reason number 1. Limited job opportunities and low wages in Montana. Montana offers breathtaking scenery, but when it comes to career opportunities, the landscape is far less impressive. The state's economy relies heavily on agriculture, tourism, mining, and timber. Important industries, but not the kind that provide widespread, high-paying jobs in today's tech-driven economy. In 2023, Montana's total GDP was about $64 billion, placing it in the bottom third of all U.S. states. For perspective, that's less than 1% of the national GDP and smaller than Starbucks' global revenue. The unemployment rate hovers around 3.2%, but that figure hides a bigger issue: underemployment. Many residents rely on part-time or seasonal work just to scrape by. High-paying industries like tech, finance, and biotech are almost non-existent. Only 3% of jobs in Montana are in those sectors, compared to over 10% in states like California or New York. The average salary is around $54,000, well below the U.S. average of $65,000. Even in Bozeman, Montana's boomtown, locals often can't earn enough to keep up with rising living costs. The result? A significant brain drain as college graduates leave for better-paying cities like Denver, Seattle, or Austin. Add in limited healthcare access, just 198 doctors per 100,000 people, and Montana's beauty starts to feel like a tough place to build a stable future. Montana is breathtaking. Its mountains, plains, and skies stretch farther than the eye can see. But as we've uncovered, beauty often comes with challenges. Harsh winters, isolation, limited jobs, high costs, and shrinking towns have kept this state one of the most sparsely populated in the country. And yet, for those who stay or those who choose to come, Montana offers something rare: space, freedom, and a life lived close to the land. So here's the question for you. Would you thrive in Montana's rugged reality, or would the challenges push you away? Could you trade convenience for solitude? Would you give up the buzz of city life for star-filled skies? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. Your perspective might even resonate with someone considering the move themselves. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the hidden truths of America's landscapes, cities, and communities. Montana may not be for everyone, but it forces us to ask a bigger question. What kind of life are you really chasing?